What do ramen and golf have in common? You don't want any bogeys in it. Welcome back to Ramen Walker. This week at Ramen Walker Kitchen, we had a very lovely Shoyu Ramen. Not only that on the menu, there was also a Shio Ramen. As you may notice, I'm in a different area today. Yesterday, when I was shooting at Ramen Walker Kitchen, it was raining, so I've came to the studio to record indoors, although it's now very sunny outside, which is kind of a shame. This week, we're talking about what's called Sano Ramen. But eagle-eyed viewers out there may have noticed that I already talked about Sano Minoru a few weeks ago, but this is a completely unrelated type of ramen. Sano Ramen is named after the place Sano in Tochigi Prefecture, just north of Tokyo. This week's chef is Tanabe Yousuke from Menya Yousuke. Previously a golf instructor and a golf wholesaler, he put up his clubs and joined the world of ramen by finding an obsession in creating Sano Ramen, and has gone on to win awards for his ramen.
栃木県佐野市から来ました麺屋田辺と申します。よろしくお願いします。もともとゴルフの、職業、教える仕事をしてたんですけども、そこで、お客さんとして来たのが、田村屋の店主、田村さんという方です。後に、私の師匠ってなる人なんですけども、当時はですね、私がゴルフを教えながら、私の方が師匠だったんですけど、ラーメンになったら今度逆転して、私が弟子になったっていう経緯があります。
The Shoyu Ramen, featuring 3 slices of wonderfully tender chashu, some bamboo shoots, very springy noodles, and a delicious chicken, pork, and beef-based broth that really accentuated every single flavor in the bowl. In addition, there was a wonderfully creamy boiled egg with a golden yolk that I considered to be a hole-in-one. And here we are. Once again, another lovely looking bowl. Straight away, what's standing out to me is the brightness of this egg yolk. It looks delicious. I'm excited to get into this one. I also have gyoza on the way today. Hey, arigatou gozaimasu. And here is my gyoza. I'll leave that for a little bit later, but first let's get into this broth. I could drink this broth all day. I love shoyu broth. Very good flavors, nice level of umami. The shoyu broth was a broth that anybody could eat. It wasn't heavy, but it was packed with flavor thanks to the chicken, beef, and pork that really had a multitude of flavors without overwhelming you with heaviness. It was very light but delicious. We've got a very large narutomaki today, but I'm very excited about these noodles. These noodles today have a little bit of give back to them. They are chewy and a little bit springy in their texture. Very nice. We've got 3 sheets of nori today. That's seaweed if you don't know. Nori really accentuates the shoyu flavors in ramen, I find. The egg sauce from Nasu Tochigi were amazing. As I picked up the egg with my chopsticks, the yolk was dripping down the side. It was so soft and it was amazing to pair with the soft chashu. I'm sorry, I have to jump straight into this egg. It just looks absolutely divine. Great amount of orange in that yolk. Beautiful. A wonderful texture in that yolk. It really melted on my tongue the second I put it into my mouth. Let's go with the bamboo shoots. Bamboo shoots themselves don't have much flavor to them. They never really do. But the crunch does help give it a little bit more color to the flavor profile. I never thought I'd say this, but it gives a better mouthfeel. I hate that word. When I ate this ramen, I was really stunned by how tender the meat was. It really melted in my mouth. It was such a delightful experience chewing on that meat. There was no toughness to it. It could be one of the most tender slices of chashu that I've had at Ramen Walker Kitchen, and it worked really well with that shoyu broth. This week's chashu, not that much color, but it's very floppy, looks very soft. Let's have a go. I can't believe how tender that chashu is. That touched my tongue, got into my mouth. I barely had to chew it and it was already falling apart in It's got a lot of good flavor, very good chashu, but the tenderness was a big surprise. I've heard that it's quite tender, but when I actually put it into my mouth, took me by complete surprise. I really wish I could put the camera inside of my mouth just to show you how quickly this pork breaks apart in your mouth, how soft it is, how tender it is. As a side dish for the first time at Ramen Walker Kitchen in my experience, he served gyoza, and this gyoza was packed to the brim. It was thick. 3 pieces of wonderfully golden bottomed gyoza. It was a joy to pair with the shoyu ramen. I think it's time to jump into the gyoza. Very good color on the bottom of that gyoza. Very well made gyoza, absolutely filled to the brim with its ingredients. Really very nice. Having gyoza with ramen is considered by some to be a stroke of genius because it is one of the best combinations to have with the bowl. Both of these dishes do have Chinese origin. As you may know, Chinese noodles led to the creation of ramen throughout Japan. It's very common in Japanese cuisine to take other cultures and adapt them into the Japanese taste. We see this with ramen or chuka soba, which is often another name for ramen, which literally means Chinese soba. In Chinese cuisine, gyoza is often steamed or boiled only. There was actually a Japanese adaptation of gyoza in which they take the already steamed or boiled gyoza and fry it to give that nice golden bottom texture that adds an extra depth of flavor and gives it a little bit of crunchiness to the dumpling. I absolutely love the springiness that the sweets noodles have. It has a very similar feel to temomi noodles. It gives it so much more character than plain straight noodles. Time to have this very, very large Nasu tamaki. If you know anything about Sano Ramen, you might have noticed that these noodles are not what is actually usually in Sano Ramen. I'm going to pass it back to Presentation Anthony for further information. The unique aspect of Sano Ramen is how the noodles are made. If you go to Sano in Tochigi and visit the ramen store Menya Yousuke, the noodles have a very unique way of making. These noodles are bashed with bamboo. In a practice called Aodake Uchi, the chef who prepares the noodles uses a very large, wide piece of bamboo and literally hits the noodles repeatedly to give them a flatter structure. The ramen chef actually uses their knees to give the bamboo extra weight to really press down on the noodles, and what it leads to is a flatter noodle to give an extra level of depth to that flavor. This method of making these noodles was actually pioneered by a Chinese man working in Japan in the early 1900s. He taught his method to another Japanese colleague at the same restaurant, and that Japanese colleague went on to use that method of making noodles in a ramen shop which he opened a few years later. And now Sano Ramen is known specifically for that unique blend of flavors and unconventional noodle making methods. Comment down below if you want to see me one day trying to make these noodles at his store. For me, the drinking of the broth is one of the best parts of getting shoyu ramen. I think it's delicious every single time. Wonderful. Soft, delicious, surprising, excellent chashu meat. The way that it melted on my tongue was amazing. Ridiculously tender. Gyoza, always a perfect pair with ramen. My first time eating gyoza was the same time that I first ate ramen. It's always been a staple of mine to get gyoza whenever it's on the menu. Another victory for Ramen Walker Kitchen. I think I'll say that every week. Yeah.
Come see me at Menya Yousuke.
Are you visiting Japan? Come and visit us at Ramen Walker Kitchen in Tokurazawa, Sakura Town. Like and subscribe for more upcoming videos about the world of ramen.